I'm on the road this week because I traveled to Valuetainment in Fort Lauderdale for a one-on-one interview with Patrick Bet David. Truth seeker, wildly successful entrepreneur, and of course, mega podcaster with literally millions of followers. In this show, we're going to dive into what happens next in America post-election. And then PBD does what he does best and pulls back the curtain on the deep state to expose their underlying agendas down to their very identities. Get ready for an eye-opening discussion on where our country goes from here and how we as citizens can take back the narrative.
Keeping it real with Jillian Michaels. Today is November 1st, but for everybody watching, it's November 11th.
Oof.
Read the tea leaves, man. What happened?
So you're saying what's going to happen, right?
Yeah.
Oh, my God. Well, let's kind of see. If it's November 11th, we're in one of three situations.
Okay.
Either Trump is president, either Kamala is president, or they're still counting.
Do you really think they're going to still be counting with all the early voting?
Well, Maricopa County said they're going to need 10 to 12 days. So 10 to 12 days for Maricopa County could be 15th to the 17th. Now, if Trump on election night wins Georgia and Pennsylvania, it could be over by 8:15, 8 o'clock, if he does.
Does he?
Okay, so let's go through a few different things.
All right.
On a few things we've never seen before, right? What have we not seen before? WAPO came out and they're not endorsing Kamala. He loses employees. They have 2.5 million subscribers that are paid subscribers. 24 hours later, 200,000 people cancel subscription. 200,000 at an average of $50. At $10 million in recurring revenue. That's a valuation of 15x. He lost $150 million like this. WAPO did, okay? USA Today doesn't endorse. They typically endorse a person on the left. They didn't endorse. LA Times doesn't endorse. Okay, so let's put these 200 publications that typically endorse somebody on the left that didn't do it. Let's go to the next point. Number two, you got by far the most boring candidate we've ever had in the history of America that can't even tell a story. Do you realize, like, if you and I right now, if I flipped it on you and I told you, you know, what do you think about what's going on with the current fitness industry? You tell me and say, well, let me tell you, back when I got started, you can do a story like that.
Right.
But if you watch somebody that says the same three lines every time, I grew up in a middle-class family, I believe in an opportunity economy, and when I was a prosecutor in California, I dealt with this, and she does this, Bob, right? The most boring candidate that would have never won if there was a primary. She would have never beaten Josh Shapiro. She would have never beaten Pritzker. She would have never beaten Newsom. She would have never beaten Whitmer. She would have been the fifth best candidate. So that is something that she's not battle tested. So let's set that aside. The European stock market tied to companies that would be negatively impacted by tariffs put on them, Germany, so a lot of the European companies, market in the month of September dropped 7% because they're all preparing to say Trump's going to get elected. Right. Go to technology. Tim Cook, who is he calling when he needs a favor on what's going on with Apple? He's calling Trump. Why is Tim Cook calling Trump and not Kamala? Maybe because Tim Cook is sitting there saying, he's probably going to end up being a president. Okay, set that aside. Go to endorsements. Taylor Swift, the same night Kamala and Trump have the debate together. Taylor Swift with hundreds of millions of followers, she just endorsed Trump. Oh my God, it's over. Done. You may as well count it in. Kamala's going to be our president. 2 weeks later, they come back with the impact of her endorsement. They realize it's a negative impact instead of a positive impact. You go through all the endorsement. Beyonce goes to Houston and she's going to be performing. People are lined up outside. She gets up, gives a 2-3 minute speech, walks off stage, doesn't speak, doesn't perform. People are walking out because they went there for Beyonce, not for Kamala, and then she's being booed and all this stuff is happening. She doesn't know how to handle herself. If I tell, okay, go to presidential pick. In life, we get judged on a few different things. We get judged on who we marry. We get judged on who we befriend. We get judged on who we hire. As a CEO, you get judged on who you hire and who you do business with. Okay, let's judge. Kamala has a choice to pick a VP.
Okay.
Israel and Iran are having a lot of issues. She could have chosen Josh Shapiro. Right. Formidable, well-spoken. She chooses...
Far more moderate.
Far more moderate and very well-spoken. And even he said 2 days ago, the garbage comment you don't make, that's not appropriate. He hadn't heard it. and he reacted. It's like, ooh, that's not good. The president's saying that. So here, she chooses Tim Walz. He chooses J.D. Vance, and you're watching, you're like, wow, I didn't even know this J.D. Vance guy. He is formidable. He can go talk to Theo Vaughn and laugh. He can go on Rogan for 4 hours. He can go and sit down against Jake Tapper. He can debate Tim Walz and put him in his place. This guy is not only a VP, he could be a 2-term president after Trump doesn't run after a term. You got to give him credit for he runs. You go to the stock market, how Wall Street's looking at it. You go to markets on how they're, I can give you 20 other points on this here. But if you go on numbers, rallies, and the biggest factor, maybe I'll give you pause to see if there's any follow-up. Here's the biggest thing I'll tell you.
Oh, there's follow-up.
I've been creating content since 2013,
right.
Okay? And I used to do my stuff the first 2 years I did it. 2 years later, we're blowing up. We got barely 1,000 subscribers. My whole family doesn't watch my show after 2 years. I'm like, you guys, I got a YouTube channel. Oh, good for you. Congratulations, buddy, right? So then I'm like, man, it must really be that bad. So I'm like, I got to make some adjustments on this. And so we adjust. We go to 40,000 subs. That's kind of cool. And then we adjust. We go to 100, and we go up 500,000 subs. And then I bring Mario in, and I'm like, Mario, I want you to look at our most viewed clips we've ever done. And we're looking 4.2 million views. I said, okay, how many videos have we done over 100,000 views? And we count, look, this many. I'm like, oh, great. Now I want you to go to the last 50 videos we made. Of the last 50 videos, how many have done over 100,000 views? It was only 2. So I said, why do you think that is? He said, I didn't even notice that. I said, let me tell you why that is. I said, watch my face in this video. You notice? It's a drag. It's a job. I'm not enjoying it. We just had our 3rd kid. I'm on the road 6 months out of the year. I'm creating content on Sundays and Saturdays. I'm working 100 hours a week. It's just a chore. I'm no longer enjoying it, and the audience can tell. Time out. We're taking a 3-month break. I don't create content for 3 months. Let me tell you what happens here. 2020, you're watching Trump campaign. He sounds bitter. He sounds angry. He sounds like a victim. It's unfair, all this other stuff. And the audience is just like, whoa. Now, listen, I'm not telling you they didn't do anything. I'm not telling you election interference. I'm not telling you all this other stuff. All that stuff is fine. But look at it now. This time around, 2-time assassination attempt. All the DOJ stuff. It's 10 times worse today than it was 2020. But he's smiling. And he's having fun.
Right.
And he's telling jokes. And he's likable. When your opponent is loose and he's having fun, dressed like a freaking... He's got this uniform with garbage truck, and it's like walking around in McDonald's. He is playing so loose. There's nothing more intimidating to the opponent who is everywhere. You feel like he's in 5 different places at the same time. And number 2, no matter how much you try to offend him, no matter how much you try to upset him, no matter how much you try to get under his skin, he's having fun. That's driving all these guys, including Obama, insane. And that's probably the X factor for him. He's in flow state right now. You can't beat somebody in flow state. My opinion, I could be wrong.
Okay, so he wins.
Yes.
He's won.
Yep.
Here's my question then.
Mm-hmm.
This is a guy that has been indicted with more than Alphonse Capone 34 times or however many it is now. I think they added one recently. They tried to kill him a couple times. Obviously, whoever they is, and that's something I want to get into in a minute, they're going to surrender now? How are they going to allow this to happen? And I am not, Pat, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I don't actually think he won the election in 2020. But nevertheless, tabling that, I actually think if there was going to be fraud, it would be now. Whoever they is that's indicted him with the DOJ 34 times, that's tried to kill him a couple times, they let that slide?
No, they're not gonna. They're gonna do everything in their power for this not to become a reality. You have to keep that in mind. They're doing it right now as we speak. The other day in Florida, there's a guy with a boat going around who has Trump flag and Nazi flags, and local Florida people that are pro-Trump people are going around with a boat saying, "We know you're a Soros-funded guy. None of us do something like that." But that picture went viral, and people like Michael Cohen and other people tweeted saying, "You really want to vote for this guy?" Because they want to make that. But by the way, that doesn't work with 95% of people, okay? But it does work with a small percentage of people that are going to look at that and say, oh, my God, is that really what the case is? So now, Soros is brilliant. Soros is brilliant on what he does. You got to give him credit. And a lot of these other guys that don't want to go there now, Alex Soros, who's dating Anthony Weiner's ex, Huma Abedin, and all these partnerships are being created. There's a lot of people that don't want him to be there. However, 6 years ago, I interviewed Phil Donahue. Let me tell you who he was. This is a guy that was connected to the Italian mob, and he was the best referee in the NBA, and he would call calls to help you win the game or lose. And he knew the difference between the calls he controlled. He says, I can control 4 points. He says 4 points I can control to see who wins. He says, however, a bad call, if I was able to get under the player's skin, you would lose your mojo and momentum, and that was more than 4 points, right? So he says the way we were able to make a lot of money with the mob, that he was constantly getting bigger and bigger until eventually he got caught. He went away to jail. It was a fascinating interview. They did a movie and a documentary on him. So here's the reality of it. Let's just say you and I are a team. We're sitting here. We're playing basketball against another team, and we know we're playing in their arena, and we know the lawyer, the referee that a lot of players know, this guy could be a crook.
Right.
We know that guy's there. Guess what we're talking about in the locker room? This is what the conversation's like in the locker room. Here's what I would say. Guys, you guys know Phil is on the other side. You guys know we're not playing in home term territory. You guys know what's going on. Let me tell you what we got to do. We got to come out the gates and kill these guys by 30. I don't care what happens. They give you technical, stay cool. But we got to kill them by 30. We cannot lose by 4 points. We cannot let it be a close game. We got to come out the gates and take a big lead in the first quarter, second quarter, third quarter. Do you know this year's election, never in the history, not in a long time we've seen this, but typically when you think about who comes out and votes more, it's Democrats. They come out.
Right.
Do you know there's more Republicans that have already come out for early voting than Democrats? What? What are we talking about? Republicans don't come out for early voting because they're paranoid and they don't know what's going to happen. So this is the other day we went voting early at 7:30 in the morning, and I said, guys, 20 people come with us. 20 people showed up in the morning, went voting. Like, go vote. Everybody, go vote, go vote, go vote. People showed up. This is a season where, I mean, by the time people watch us, we won't make an impact with that part of the messaging, but it's already happening. You got an Elon Musk that's giving away $1 million on people in states like Pennsylvania. You think he doesn't know what's going on? That guy is by the way, I'm going to give you one prediction that I want you to be ready for. So during the president-elect season, November 6th till inauguration, they will use everything they can to not let him go in.
Right. January 6th was my next question for you.
Everything they can to
What
not
happens
get in.
then?
But I'm going to tell you what.
How are they going to do it?
Oof, watch what happens. They just said, Joe Biden came out, or somebody else came out, including Biden, came out and said, you know, when Elon Musk first started working here, he was an illegal immigrant.
Right.
Oh, yeah. He was an illegal immigrant. And we should deport this man. Why are you going after him? Here's why. As of right now, today is, you said November 1st. Today's November 1st.
It's November 1st,
Okay.
but this airs November 11th.
There you go.
So for them, November 11th.
So November 11th, you're watching this. So watch this. As of today, not the day you're watching this, today's the 1st. As of today, the most hated man in America today is Donald J. Trump.
Really?
Do you know November 6th who it's going to be? Number 1? Trump's not going to be number 1. Trump's going to fall to number 3. On the 6th, and if Trump stays president and he gets elected and he does his inauguration, puts his hand on the Bible, say that event takes place, officially the most hated man in America by the establishment is going to be Elon Musk 1. Number 2 will be J.D. Vance. Number 3 will be Donald J. Trump. Let me explain to you why. Look at a timeline. If you look at a timeline, Donald J. Trump only goes 4 years, and he's 78. He's born June 13th, I believe, so he's going to go 4. He's a Gemini. He'll go 4 years. And then after the 4 years, J.D. goes 8.
Okay.
So J.D.'s lifespan is 12 years, okay, if he wins. But then Musk is 53, 40 years. That guy's going to live a long time. Do you think they're going to want to deal with Musk for 40 years? No way. Musk buying X is enemy to state number 1. They hate him. They fear him. They can't stand him. They will do anything in their power to make his life a living hell. They're going to do whatever they can. This is why Mark Cuban wants to be the head of SEC, because the reason why he wants to be the head of SEC is to go after Musk and try to find a way to get him to stop and make his life a living hell. And when you're thinking about all this stuff, and then today, the Kamala campaign, I don't know if you saw this story that was leaked, the fact that they're saying they apparently, allegedly, they approached Mark Cuban and they said, we don't want you to speak on behalf of Kamala anymore moving forward. Don't do that.
Was it the comment about going after women? I just ripped his ass about that last night on Jesse Waters. I was so pissed.
I was watching you live with the kids.
Those are my friends. I've known Danica for a decade. I'm friends with Sage. I love Tulsi. I was livid. The balls on this guy.
Yeah, well, listen. Or the lack of, because it's because for a man to go after the way he's doing it, I don't know. Like, okay, so you go watch certain comedians, they're first timers coming up, and they're trying to talk shit, right? There's the art of talking shit that's attractive. And you're like, he's talking shit. I get what you're doing. It's funny.
Right.
Do your thing. Then there's people that try to talk shit like the guy, and it's not organic. Like, listen, you're either Trump or you're not. You're either Conor McGregor or you're not. You're either Jake Paul or you're not. If you're not ever going to be those people. That's their personality. You either have the cool walking around and having the look and the swagger with the ladies that's just effortless, or you don't have it. Some people have it such an effortless way of the way they look or move. It's just super attractive, right? Mark Cuban is trying very hard to be two men. Mark Cuban's trying to be Musk and Trump, and he's neither. He is neither. Unfortunately, he will never be Musk because Musk is worth $250 billion and Cuban's worth $5 billion or $6 billion. Very wealthy, very successful, but not at Musk's level. And unfortunately, he's not a trifecta. He's only done 2 of the 3 things that Trump has done. He's run a big show,
Right.
Shark Tank, except he's not the star on Shark Tank. It's Kevin O'Leary. Without Kevin O'Leary, Shark Tank is done because he's the one that, does his thing. Kevin O'Leary is a troll. He can get the eyeballs. Number 2, he became a billionaire. So did Trump. So Trump apprentice, Trump billionaire, Trump president. Cuban doesn't have the third one. Trump's a trifecta. He wants to be Musk, and he wants to be a trifecta. He's not. The envy and the bitterness is coming out that he's not going after women. What? You think that's the right strategy? Let's compare the 2 comments. Tony Hinchcliffe, comedian,
Right.
gets up there, says stuff about Puerto Rico. Should he have said that? Probably not.
Yeah.
Was it good for him? Yes. Personally, Kill Tony probably went up because he got a lot of eyeballs. For show.
I thought maybe he was getting roasted.
He is getting roasted, but he's got the thickest skin of comedians.
Okay.
It's Tony Hinchcliffe.
Okay.
He's phenomenal. I saw him open up for Rogan. We had him on the podcast. Jillian, he is phenomenal at what he does. His space, he's very good. But Tony Hinchcliffe says, Puerto Rico, an island of dumpster, all this other stuff. Great.
Yeah.
Mark Cuban, who is actually a serious person,
Right.
who is actually a business influencer, who goes and has serious conversation. You talk about women on the right, the way yet. I mean, I'm really trying to see the positive of this because this guy went to Indiana University. This is a successful businessman. I can't see the logic and even to say, well, here's how it helps him. It's not. So, yeah, I think he's having a hard time. A lot of these things together, it's another reason why Kamala's having a hard time with what's going to happen. But you were saying January 6th.
Okay, so January 6th, Elon Musk is now enemy number 1, J.D. Vance enemy number 2, Trump enemy number 3.
Yep.
All right. I've seen Jamie Raskin numerous times now say that they are going to invoke the 14th Amendment.
Mm-hmm.
Does that happen?
Okay, so
No one's alarmed.
yeah, so let's go through it. I saw that he said that 2 months ago in August, 3 months. 3 months ago in
Is
August.
it me?
No.
I mean, is he not telling us what he's going to do? And the part that
Yeah.
alarms me is not because I'm alt-right. It's all the things that people worry about with regard to Trump. He's an autocrat. He's a dictator. Democracy will end. You guys, you're the ones weaponizing the DOJ. You're the ones going after the First Amendment. You're the ones that are saying you are not going to certify the votes on January 6th, but you're pissed about January 6th, and you slotted in a candidate, which I want to get back to with you, that nobody ever liked and nobody ever voted for by design because of them, which I also want to get back to. So what happens on January 6th?
Let me ask you this. I saw you on Bill. You crushed it. You were phenomenal, right? Question for you.
Yeah.
What has changed between 2024 and 2020? What's changed?
The party's unrecognizable, Pat. I'll give you a few examples,
Please.
okay? So let's go back to 2008.
Okay.
2008, the Democrats are anti-gay marriage. Bummer. And I did vote for Obama. However, he brought a huge population that happened to be religious to the polls, and they voted down gay marriage, Proposition 8. We know how that turned out. Anyway, 4 years later, 4 years or so, they're pro-gay marriage. That's awesome. That's a huge change. Now you've got Michelle Obama, who I personally thought was a baller, on stage at the DNC advocating to chop off the genitals of kids. Gender affirming care. That's what it means. I'm sorry. I don't care what little sweet phrase you want to wrap around it. That's what's happening. You're going to give children off-label cancer drugs. You're sterilizing them. They'll never have an orgasm again. And then we get into, are you going to chop their boobs off or not? Well, maybe at 16. I can't. You've lost your mind. What happened to an abortion being legal, safe, and rare? Now we're having them in a parking lot and it's a celebration. Like, what happened to us being the party of no war? I don't want anyone to die. Like, I don't care if they're Ukrainian or they're Palestinian or they're Israeli. I'm against death, even if they're not American. When did we become the party of neocons? You're embracing Dick Cheney? Have you lost your fucking mind, Pat? Like, now you're going after the First Amendment. You're forcing people to get vaccines that you knew didn't work. You knew it. And I know they knew it because now we've all read the emails that came out of the congressional hearings between Morenz and Fauci and Collins, and nobody's paying for this. Like, this is not my party. I don't know what party this is, but it isn't mine. It isn't the one I grew up with. And if the right, who I still don't fully align with, but I didn't fully align with people on the left. And that was what was so great about being on the left, is that we were liberals. We were tolerant. We got along and we tolerated our differences and we discussed them civilly. And now I'm sitting there with Matt Walsh. He's not for gay marriage. I am. He's heavily religious. I'm not religious. But we find our common ground. We can disagree amicably about the things that we don't share common ground on. And it's a welcome in. I sit down with Hannity. He invites me on. I can sit with Jesse. He invites me on. Hannity and I can debate about Dick Cheney amicably. Not one person from the left, with the exception of Kara Swisher, will even come on my show. They won't dialogue with you.
And that's you.
They won't have you on.
That is so
They just purge the hell
and
out of everybody on the left. And now we're all disaffected Democrats voting for Trump.
I told you, first time you and I we were exchanging, I said, babe, email from, no way, babe. I love her. Please tell her. I'm like, babe, my wife is not one that gets like, she's like, babe, I love her. Aww. But you're loved. But who are you loved by? Everybody. So
I'm very polarizing character, but not because of politics.
But now you may be, and you're openly talking about some of this stuff. When was the last time you were a registered Democrat? I'm curious.
2020.
Okay.
But Pat, I actually didn't vote in 2020 because I didn't like Trump and I didn't like Biden, and it was like a protest.
Did you do in 16? Did you vote in 16?
I voted for Hillary. I
okay.
loved her.
So you're the perfect
case study. I worked with
study.
the Clintons for years.
No.
Oh my God, yeah, I loved Bill. I loved Hillary. Chelsea was on my reality show. They were great to me. I was a part of the Clinton Global Initiative. They helped me with the adoption of my daughter out of Haiti. And as a family, I don't have a bad word to say about them. No, they've been lovely to me for years.
Wow.
I actually don't have a bad word to say about the Clintons as people towards me. They've been nothing but lovely.
Okay, well,
I know. I don't know.
By the way,
I voted.
Even that's even greater.
It's torturous.
Wow.
I can't, from my brain, to feel it feels. Here's what it actually feels like. I was telling my business partner this today, because we're a week later now, but having gone on Fox with regard to Mark Cuban's comments, Biden calling us all garbage. First, it started with Barack telling all men of color that if they don't vote for Kamala, they're essentially race traitors. Then Michelle goes on and says, if you don't vote for Kamala, all you men, you're misogynists and you're sexists. Well, that really pisses me off because I'm friends with all those men. And okay, and then we move on to everybody's a Nazi at the Trump rally, and by association, anybody who votes for Trump is a Nazi. That's half of my friend group, including my wife, and now me. And then Biden calls everybody garbage. Like, what are you doing? Here's what it's like. A child. This is what I feel like. A child whose parent is an alcoholic, who's a crappy parent, and you're trying to win them over. You're trying to wake them up. You're trying to get them to be home at night, to get sober. You want them to be like, I hear you. I'm going to change. What am I doing wrong? Right? And they just, not only do they not hear you, not only do they not acknowledge the way you're feeling, they triple down on being an asshole. And I didn't like JD Vance. I was like, really? Ugh. I hated the comments he made about women. I wanted Bobby. I wanted Tulsi. I was disappointed. He gets in the debate with Tim Walz. He does a great job. And he turns around and he goes, on the abortion stuff, we got to do better here. We're learning. We're really gonna. And I was like, oh my God,
good.
did you just say that you see that maybe your position is really aggressive and disturbing to so many, and you're going to reevaluate? I get he's pro-life. I understand completely, but it's like I get that you guys are feeling this way. I can see why you would feel this way. Well, Pat, whose show is this? I mean,
So let me ask you now. Let's stay here because this is important.
Okay.
What else has changed with 2020 to 2024? So I'm going back to your question. What else has changed? That was powerful what you just said. What else?
okay.
Think about it. What else
The real
has
question
changed?
is how involved have corporate interests always been?
They've always been involved.
Okay. So, I mean, they just get more and more corrupt. This is the big question that everybody's asking, right? Has the world always been this nuts and you're just suddenly waking up and opening your eyes? Or is this corruption growing? I think it's both. So this was not the party going after First Amendment rights. This wasn't the party advocating heavily for gender affirming care. It wasn't the party embracing Dick Cheney. That's all I can tell you is the positions have radically changed. Joe Biden was supposed to be a moderate.
Yep.
Remember that promise? I'm a moderate. Bernie is crazy town. He's a commie, but I am a moderate. And I actually think, Bernie, I didn't like any of his fiscal policies, but he'll tell you all the corruption that goes on there, and he was anti that, and I respect the hell out of him for it. He was never my candidate because he was, way too social, financially speaking. I didn't identify.
So let's go. So far, we're talking to somebody, who in 2020 you didn't vote for either.
Nope.
Neither. You didn't like Trump. You didn't like Biden. You stayed out of it.
Yeah.
2016, you voted for Hillary.
Hillary all day.
You
Cried
were
when
part of
Trump won. I cried.
You were part of those who cried when.
Oh man, I wept. Pat cried.
This is even a bigger thing to validate. And you're not sitting here saying anything bad about the Clintons. You're like, I worked on their initiative. I'm great with Chelsea. I did stuff with Chelsea. Okay. So what else has changed the last 4 years? Let's go through the last 4 years. So in 4 years ago, when this whole thing's going on with Trump, social media censorship was at an all-time high. Don't forget, Trump gets elected. Okay. They remove him from YouTube. Right. They remove him from X. They remove him from Facebook. They remove him from Instagram. He is nowhere. Hundreds of thousands of people are being removed from social media during that time, and it's absolutely insane. Then, in 2020, I'm doing a podcast. I'm talking to people. Strike. We were getting strikes left and right in 20. I'm like, we didn't do anything. I just did an interview with Bobby and Ann. Strike. I'm like, okay. So then that's taking place. Then in 2022, a man named Musk buys Twitter, buys X, hires Mary, brings in Taibbi, brings in Barry Weiss, brings in all these all these guys he brings in, do your Twitter files. We're like, wait a minute, all this stuff, oh my God, this is crazy. Well, this really happened. Yes, this is the communication. Are you flipping? No, this is it. Okay, so he buys that, and then now open game, brings Trump back, brings all these guys back, brings back Alex Jones. Guys, let her rip, go talk. Then Facebook reinstates, then Instagram reinstates, all these guys reinstate. Okay, so let's go to the next phase of what else that changed during that time. Here's the other thing that changed.
God, I see where you're going.
4 months ago, Mark Zuckerberg that gave full $100 million to these guys just 4 years ago comes out and says, yes, the Biden-Harris administration asked us to remove things. They were very stern about it. And even though we knew we shouldn't have done it, I'm responsible, made the mistake of removing it, and I regret making that decision. I just had Jim Jordan on a podcast earlier this week, and we talked about this because the letter that he wrote was to the Honorable Chairman Jim Jordan, right? So we're talking about this openly. So he's now coming out, and he's been hanging out with a lot of the UFC guys, the Dana White guys. So typically when you fight with other guys and you're doing wrestling and your testosterone's going up, you're typically going to be like, what are we doing? You typically are going to lean more towards the libertarian side, and libertarian sides are not going to relate to what the Dems are talking about today. Then here's the other part that some people are going to be surprised with me saying this. To me, Biden was a lifelong moderate that had to be forced to paint himself as a progressive. So he got the progressives to also like him. So, hey, I need AOC. I need all these guys. However, Kamala is a lifelong progressive that is trying to paint herself as being a moderate, and she's not. And no one's buying it. Nobody believes what she has to say. And last but not least, which is the most beautiful thing here. You ready? So think about it this way. Okay. Say we have a girl here who's 28 years old, okay? She's had 2 boyfriends that she's been with for 3 years, okay? And they ended both. They didn't end bad, but they just ended. And she moved on. And she got out. She went away and had a little bit of fun. And now she's 28 and she's sitting there. She says, you know what? I want to get married. Okay, she wants to get married. And somehow, some way, those 2 guys that she dated for 3 years, one was from high school, whatever, and one was from college, they reappear. She was with both of them for 3 years. She now has 3 years of history with both, okay? She can sit there and say, well, when I was with him, mom is a little bit annoying and she was controlling, so I can't deal with that mom. And when I was with him, he was kind of dirty. He would never flush the toilet, and that really bothered. We used to fight about that. And when I was with him, and he was this, but let me tell you, he was very good with taking care of his this, and I liked that, and he was good this, and it's okay. But he was funny. I really liked him, and we had fun together privately. Okay, I like this guy for it. Okay, great. This other one was a moneymaker. He was this, he was that, but damn, he was boring. He had a terrible temper. He was this, he was that. What am I going to go with? Who am I going to? But meaning, if she chooses to go and date him or him, she's doing it based on a track record. She doesn't have to call around and say, what's he like?
Right.
Who was he with? Who did he date? It's not, you have 2 people on a blind date. This guy, you don't know what he's done. You don't know what he's done. You don't know how they are, right? Okay. We have 2 candidates today that we have 4 years of resume to judge from. Trump, we got 4 years. Kamala, we got 4 years. This is not a guessing game.
You can I play devil's advocate?
Sure, of course, go for it.
Because I've had this argument.
Go for it.
I just watched Megyn Kelly and Bill have it, and here's the position. And I'm going to quote Bill. And I love you, Bill. Thank you for everything you've done for me. Bill goes, well, there was Hitler 1930 and there was Hitler 1945. So that's the argument, is that, yeah, we made it through 4 years, but the best has yet to come.
Yeah, what a wild comparison to make.
Pat,
right? To say something like that in a society like ours, with the Constitution that we have, with the free press that we have, with podcaster that we have, with social media companies that we have, with everything that we have right now, that, you and I can have this conversation today, where just 20 years ago, we couldn't talk about it. It was only a few different channels that are talking about it. And if you're either mainstream media or there is no independent podcaster, we can sit there and question everybody.
Right.
It's a different game today. If you try to play the game, even Musk on Twitter, his own people will hold him accountable at times. And he owns the app, and he gets called out. So, and it's like, wait a minute, this is the guy that owns the app that you're calling him out, and everybody is seeing this tweet that's going viral, but he's not taking that person down, and you're still on there to do that. That's a level of an accountability. He has to cause us fear porn, and the audience has to either fall for it or not fall for it. I'm going to go back to today. Okay. The other thing you have to realize with Trump as well is he's 78 years old. How old was Hitler in 1930? I don't know. How old was he in 19? What happened between the 30 and then for him to have the level of hate that he created? Who does Trump have a level of hate for? Who? What hate do you see for who? Show me a community. Show me a track record. Who are you going to find that for? You're not going to find that. So it is the easiest election we've ever had. That does not mean we will not have the fear porn that's going to be sent our way all the time. It is politics. You have to be paranoid till the very end. You have to be skeptical. Nothing is done until they say it's over with, and then inauguration takes place. Then the war comes in. Till that day, we have to stay paranoid.
Okay. I'm saving America. We're saving America. From who?
Yeah. So let's go through.
Who is they? Is there a deep state? If so, what is it? Is it Larry Fink? Is it George Soros? Is it big oil? What is it, Pat?
So I brought Jim Jordan in, and I showed him a clip. I don't know if you've ever seen a white envelope clip. You ever seen a white envelope?
No.
Okay, so there's a white envelope video at George Bush Sr.'s funeral that gets passed down to everybody. Michelle and Barack Obama get it. Michelle opens it. You see Barack goes like this, goes like this. Hillary Clinton gets it. She opens the white envelope, goes like this, goes like this, goes like this. Okay, everybody, Biden's get it. And then comes Jeb Bush, his mom, and George Bush are standing here. And Jeb Bush is standing above his mom. And mother opens the envelope, and she goes like this. And then Jeb looks down. Jeb goes, and within half a second, he flinches and he looks at her. So I said, Jim, what is in that white envelope? Jim Jordan was like, I've never seen this. I said, Jim, you've never seen this? I've never seen it. I said, so Jim, what is on that white envelope? It's not like you read a sentence. A sentence takes 3 seconds. Doom, doom, right?
Yeah.
He didn't do that. He just went boom, boom, half a second. What's in there? And Trump didn't get the envelope. What is in that envelope? And then who gave that envelope? If Barack Obama received the envelope, that means you're not the boss. It's kind of like this.
Right.
Right? It's
Right.
if somebody pays
Of course
you.
he's not the boss.
No, he's
Who's
not.
the boss?
Who is the boss? So then who is the boss? Is it, when I had Trump on the podcast, I said, who is it? Is there a deep state? He said it's an amorphous of lunatic, some word like that he used, right? So it's a group of, he talked about shift first, and he went through a few different names, right? Okay. But then at the end of the day, you have to also realize Clintons are worth a couple $100 million, say $500 million. Obama's are worth $100 to $200 million, let's just say. Biden's are worth, I don't know, $50 million, right? Bush's are worth, whatever, 40, 50, $100 million, right? They used to own the Rangers. Maybe they got some money, right? That's nothing.
Right.
That's not real money.
Right.
Soros is worth real money. Thinking those guys at BlackRock, State Street, Vanguard, they're worth real money. I'll give you a stat that's very, very weird that came to my attention. Do you know what country in the world has the most natural resources?
You're going to say Ukraine, aren't you?
It's not. Ukraine is actually, it's top 3 in many of them. But you know what country has the most natural resources of all combined together? It's $75 trillion. This can be validated. Anybody can Google it and go look at it. I want you to think about this before you say it. So what country are they painting as the worst country in the world today? You said one of them. You said one of them that's now painted as the best. They're great people. Let's keep giving them money, right? Who is the enemy of that country?
Palestine?
No, Russia, right?
Russia?
Russia has $75 trillion of natural resources in their country. Guess who doesn't have access to that money? Nobody. Why not? Who's in the way? A guy named Putin. So who wants to get access to that $75 trillion of resources? Who? Probably BlackRock, probably State Street, probably Vanguard. They want to get in there. So how do you do it? Well, I interviewed a guy named, he wrote a book called The Economic Hitman. Can you Google what his name is? Something Perkins.
Yes, I know the book.
Perkins, Economic Hitman.
Yes.
He wrote this a while back.
Brilliant.
And
I read it years ago.
Yeah, I had him on the podcast, and I said, so what was your job? What's his... John Perkins. Okay, fascinating podcast. And I said, so what did you do? He says, it was very simple for me. I'd come to you if you're president or prime minister, and I would tell you, hey, I'm coming on behalf of a group of people. I can't disclose who it is. We're going to come and build 10, 20, $50 billion of businesses here, and we're going to help you out. And you have to do this. If you don't, we're going to destroy your economy.
Right.
And then he says most of the time, they would agree. I said, did anybody ever die? He says, a couple times people died. I said, let me get this straight. You want to side with a guy. You threatened him. He says, I threatened him. You threatened him. You walked away. And he dies? He says, yes. A couple times they died. Got it. So Zelensky goes in. They replace the other guy, who's a bad guy. He comes in, an actor who played a star who was the president in the show that he was starring in, who knows how to shake his hips very well. We've seen some of those clips with him dressed very cute, the way he's dressed and the way he moves. So this guy comes in, and the place gets bombed, and then all of a sudden JP Morgan and another bank is coming to rebuild Ukraine $400 billion? Huh. Got it. Can you imagine? Let's just say you ran a business. You've been running a business for a while, right? What's a big account? What if you come to me and I tell you, Jillian, we're about to give you 2,000 customers that on a monthly basis are going to pay you $100 a month. Whoa, that's attractive, right? Yeah. So that's pretty impressive, right? So they're coming in, $400 billion business. Who's financing it? They are. Great, $400 billion. That's a lot of money, right? So then they find that the country with the most natural resources is Russia, $75 trillion, and the guy in the way to get in is him. You mean to tell me I can't get through? No, we got to find a way to get rid of this guy. So maybe an economic hitman doesn't work. Maybe you got to find a different way. Maybe you got to find a way to divide him. I'm not telling you this guy's a saint. I'm not telling you he's a great guy. I'm not telling you he's a guy you should go out there and, trust everything that he's doing. But I am sitting there saying that if we're America first, and we should be America first, he's probably Russia first. Right. He should be Russia first, right? So some of these businesses have to get in there. Business models that we rarely talk about. Hotels. You and I go stay at a hotel. If you go at a hotel in Las Vegas, and you and I, what is the fastest way for us to find out if there's a lot of people staying at the hotel or not in Las Vegas? Through the parking lot, right? If you go in the parking lot and me and you, let's say at whatever, let's pick a time, at 7 o'clock in the morning, because people are sleeping from partying a lot or gambling a lot. If at 7 o'clock in the morning the parking lot is empty, that means the hotel's probably empty, right? How does a hotel make money? By making sure 95% of the rooms are rented. Their business model is for you and I to go and stay at their hotels. That's how they make their money.
Right.
What's a place that does haircuts? They got 8 chairs. What's their business model? Those 8 chairs being busy, right? A hair salon, 8 chairs being busy. How about a hospital? All the beds being busy.
I know that industry.
People got to be sick, right?
Sure.
To make money. Okay.
Right.
How about if you're selling weapons and jets and what's the business? We need wars, right? How about, it doesn't matter. How about banking? I need to lend. Who can I lend the most money to? Countries. And I can hold them hostage. These business models have been around for a while. When they talk about the story with Eisenhower at the end talking about the military-industrial complex.
I've seen that.
You know what's the most unique thing about the speech he gave? How come he didn't give the speech on the first day of being president? How come he was a 2-term president? Why don't you give it on your first year? How come in our second year? How about now your 4th year? Why don't you give it before you were done? Why'd you give it at the end? Oh, maybe because he was afraid that if he would have given it too early, something could have come after him. Then you given it at the end, so now we know, but you didn't give us enough stuff to know what's going on behind. Man, you should have revealed some of this stuff earlier. You were a general. It's not like you're just a president. You're a general in the military and a president. You have probably more intel to give us. But these things are real. These things are happening. And half the time when we're seeing somebody that they paint as the enemy, you have to kind of pump the brakes a little bit and step back and wait 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months and do your own due diligence to realize this guy really the bad guy or he's the bad guy? Who's the puppet in this equation? And who's the puppet master? But these money guys behind closed doors, they're moving everybody. Right. Politicians need their money. They use lobbyists, and they know countries that need their money to go in and rebuild. But it's not one person. Even when I ask Jim Jordan, or I ask Trump, or I ask Kevin McCarthy, what's your 2 weeks ago? It's not one person. It's a group of these guys behind closed doors.
Are they aligned, obviously, then?
Are they aligned?
In other words, Pat, if one of these guys, who's one of the most powerful in the world, has a different agenda than another one, right? If, let's say, Soros and Fink had differing agendas, it feels like everything, I know I sound insane. My poor mother, she looks at me and she's like, can you please just go back to talking about lunches, lifelong Democrat? And I try to show her this stuff and she literally thinks I've wrapped myself in tinfoil. And it feels so coordinated, so telegraphed. They're not playing 3D chess. I mean, they're playing like multi-dimensional parallel universe chess to get all of these pieces in just the right place and all of these governments aligned just so. And how?
Can I talk to your mother real quick? Is she what? What's your mom's name?
Oh my gosh, her name's Joanne.
Joanne, where are you, Joanne? How are you, Joanne? By the way,
Please
we love your daughter.
Joanne thinks I'm
She's
amazing. Poor Joanne.
I got a question for you, Joanne.
Pat,
did you guys, when you were a kid, did you guys have Christmases?
Oh, heck yeah.
Okay. Did mom, dad, did they set up the tree and
Absolutely.
the gifts and oh my God, shaking, oh my God, Santa's here. Did you have those types of moments? Okay. Mom, that's an example of the deep state in the house. You manipulated Christmas. And you got 2 kids to believe it. For me, I believed it. That's a form of deep state, except you were deep state. You know who's deep state in my house right now? Me.
Right.
We just had Halloween last night. The deep state, these are real monsters. We had these new cool things that the kids bought with Mickey that's sick, these spiders that were hanging off the tree. And if somebody walks by, it's so cool. If you walk by, you go like these 2 spiders go, whoom. They drop and they pull them back up. Absolutely sick, right?
Pure hell,
And then
actually.
you can mess with your kids and you can mess, right? So, but we ended up believing it, and parents did it.
Yeah.
In a small little example, if parents can manipulate kids into believing Santa Claus exists, to the government, they're the parents, you're the kids, and they're fooling you and I. The difference is they have better resources and tools. It's that simple. Why are we naive to believe that that doesn't happen?
I don't know.
Yeah,
Maybe because it's just too scary and too dystopian and there's no hope. And what's the point if you, because how, well, so here's my next
I
question.
understand what's the point, by the way. So if you want to go there, I got thoughts on that.
I definitely want to go there, but I also want to know, can they not get to Trump? Because it's not like he was effective at draining the swamp the first time. Now, he didn't start any new wars, but, he wasn't putting big pharma and big food. He wasn't putting a lot of these corporate interests in check the way he is promising to. Is he immune from these?
But you have to go back and
Are they the ones who tried to kill him? I mean, it's clearly an inside job, for God's sake.
You have to go to 2016 and realize what was important to America at the time. Elections and the issues differ based on the season you're in, right? I'm 46 years old. The stuff I'm dealing with today at 46, after selling a company 2 years ago, and I'm running 8 companies today with podcasts. We have 3 different buildings here. We're doing all this other stuff. My issues, my top 5 today is different than my top 5 in 2020 that I'm 2 years away from selling a business and I'm in Texas, moving to Florida. My 5 matters different than if I go to 2016 that I'm, moving to Texas from California and I'm moving my headquarters. My 4 or 5 are different. I go to 2012. Things for you as well. It's different today, life, than where you were. So the same as with politics. So today, the reason why those things are different today is because during COVID and pandemic, they try to accelerate the process and they piss people off a lot. Right. This whole non-essential and essential, you dictate whose job is non-essential. How many millions of families who worked for a restaurant that a great-grandfather or grandfather started, that they worked so hard, all the cleaning of the restaurant, you're done. I used to work at Haagen-Dazs. We would clean the ice cream machine, the yogurt machine. We would, for 45 minutes, we were talking to each other while we build our bond together 5 days a week, right? All these restaurants are wiped out. All these family businesses are wiped out. You think those kids forgot? You think those local people in the community that used to go to that restaurant forgot? They did not forget. Go to the kids that were 14 years old, forced not to go to school. If they went to school, they had a mask on. Those 14-year-old kids are 18 today. Why do you think the level of young men becoming conservative has increased? Because they don't forget what you did to them in 9th grade. They were not able to go see their friends. And what do you mean a year I go without seeing people? I need connection. I need to be around people. You stole that year away from me. I'm never going to forget that. So Bobby's going to go through the swamp because his number one enemy was Fauci. He wrote a book called The Real Anthony Fauci that sold God knows how many millions of copies, right? So he still's got unfinished job. You think Bobby, who became an addict, he talks about openly for 14 years, after his father got killed and his uncle got killed, being a Kennedy, you think he forgot that pain? You think he's just a guy that wants a legacy because he wants to be a famous Kennedy? He hasn't forgotten any of that stuff. He's got a fight. He's got a bone to pick with the government, especially with all the stuff that happened to his family. No, that's not going to. He's pissed. You think Tulsi, who is a proud Democrat, who's out there campaigning on stage, representing all the Democratic policies, then Hillary Clinton comes out and says you're a Russian asset? You come after me. I served your country and you never did. Who the hell are you to call me out? I know you're good friends with the Clintons. Who are you to call me out, right?
Good friends, but they were nothing but lovely to me personally.
I get to you, but to you, you call and Tulsi. Who are you to say something like that to me, right?
I know what they did to Tulsi.
It's no longer about, it's no longer the same as 2020. And in 2020, he doesn't know who to hire in D.C. He doesn't know. Like just earlier today, I had the Nixon speechwriter. I'm coming from that podcast I had right now, Ken Chachikian. And he was a speechwriter for Ronald. He was Ronald Reagan's chief speechwriter at his inaugural address when he became a president. And he was an aide to Nixon. He spent few thousand hours with Nixon and few thousand hours with Reagan, right? I'm talking to him.
So cool.
I said, what was one of the things that Reagan told you about Jim Baker? He says Reagan didn't like Jim Baker a lot. He was always pissed about. He said Reagan doesn't like what Jim Baker did. What did Jim Baker do? Jim Baker was a monster. He was not a monster. He was very good at what he was a political heavyweight. This Jim Baker. He was like the Dick Cheney, the OG Dick Cheney. Jim Baker was able to get Reagan to raise the taxes, and Reagan never agreed to raise the taxes. Reagan goes in to D.C. He doesn't know the people. He just trusts, hey, Jim, you should be my chief of staff. You should do this. First term. Second term, Trump goes in. This is a different play he's going in. And by the way, going back to the question when you said, why aren't people thinking that a deep state can exist if it exists in the House, right? With Mom, Christmas, all this stuff. Is it just the fact that they don't want to get them on? They don't care? The reality of it is, if we really bring this down, think about the average person who makes $50,000 to $80,000 a year,
right?
Okay, who have $40,000 of debt, credit card, who maybe have $300 of discretionary income on a monthly basis. Think about you and I don't know what that means. You've done well. I've done well. But imagine you're making $50,000 to $80,000 a year. You got $300 of discretionary income. You don't know what it is to go to Europe for vacation. You don't even know what it is to go to Hawaii for vacation. It's a camping trip. Maybe we go to a local place for 2 nights with the family and we come back. We don't have time to be thinking about this kind of stuff.
Right.
We don't have time to be reading all these articles. We don't have time to do all this. We're just sitting there saying, oh, man, just let me know the country's going to be okay. I've been a Democrat my entire life. My mom voted for John F. Kennedy. My dad. That's the community. Majority of America are just innocent, hardworking, good people that just want to be good husbands, good wives, good mothers. They don't have time to study all this stuff. And when you go deep into it, like, oh, I'm getting a headache. I don't have time for this.
I just did this with a friend, and she literally is never Trump or blah, blah, blah. I was trying to explain to her why people are turning and voting for Trump who didn't initially. Long story short, she gave me that spiel. I can barely pay my rent. I need $50 for gas, the whole talk. And she's like, the stuff you're thinking about, that all exists here in the cloud. I'm like, it's not going to exist here in the cloud when you get breast cancer because 10,000 chemicals are allowed into your food. It's not going to exist here in the cloud if, God forbid, we get into a nuclear war with Russia. You've got this axis of evil now of North Korea, China, Russia, Brazil. Wake up. This shit can happen. Like, it's not in the cloud when this happens. When you need healthcare and your insurance gives you the bird, when your house gets destroyed in a natural disaster and your insurance doesn't cover you, like, these are things that the string pullers, the puppet masters are orchestrating. It does affect you. It is the thing that's not only going to affect you, it's going to be the thing that breaks you. And healthcare, a health crisis, is the number one cause of bankruptcy in our country, Pat. But then they give me that speech.
What got you interested in it? What was the first tipping point? First domino, not the last one.
With regard to making the switch from left to right?
What was the first domino where you're like, wait a minute, babe, what's going on with this? And you guys are talking.
It was definitely COVID. That's why when you said COVID accelerated
What month? Like, what was it?
It was Brett frickin' Weinstein on Rogan in March of 2020, as I am full-blown liberal, blue to the bone. My wife and I, who's now my wife, but at the time wasn't, who was always Republican, and I'm Democrat. We're bringing the house down with fights over this stuff, over the 2020 election. My God, Pat, it was, she loves the I told you so now, but nevertheless. And all of a sudden, I'm driving down PCH, and you've got Gavin Newsom threatening to close down the schools. And I'm thinking, this is a cold virus. This doesn't make sense that it could be. These videos don't seem right. People are falling apart in China, collapsing on the streets. It just doesn't add up for me. And Brett Weinstein, who I'd never even heard of at the time, and I had mentioned recently that I was watching Rogan because I like the alien stuff and the Yeti, like I love listening to him take hallucinogenic honey on his show and doing an interview. You know what I mean? Like, he was just a good time. He was my good time guy. I liked him. I thought he was a ton of fun. I like to go down the rabbit hole with Joe, right up until Joe became my mainstream source of media. And then you, and then Dave Rubin, and then Meg Kelly. And long story short is Brett Weinstein's on there, and he's outlining all the reasons that he believes COVID came from a lab. And I was like, oh shit, he's right. This all checks out. And all the mainstream media is telling you that's not the case. Came from a wet market. And I'm watching all these channels that I trusted my entire adult life lie to my face. And then everything that followed was absurd. It was one absurdity after another absurdity.
How long did it take you to flip? From March, how long did it take you?
Man, I still was thinking I was going to do the no vote right up until mid 24, man. Summer of 24.
Well, this just happened to you.
I thought, well,
Was
okay.
it pre-assassination attempt or post?
It was post. When
Got
they
it.
tried to kill him. And I remember sitting with my wife in the car. We were here in Florida. And my mom's freaking out and Trump's going to get whatever. And I was like, no, Biden's going to be gone. They're going to boot him because that rumor was lurking. I was like, I'm going to slot someone in. I thought it was going to be Michelle or Gavin. And I was like, it ain't going to be him. And I remember Tucker. going, I'm telling you right now, it's not going to be either one of these two candidates. And a lot of his crazy stuff ends up coming true. And I think Tucker can say some crazy shit, but he's a very intelligent guy. And a lot of that crazy shit has become the truth. So I was like, they're indicting Trump 30 million times. They're going to invoke the 14th Amendment on the guy. And if they don't, they'll kill him. And my God, I watched them try to kill him. Oh, I always knew they were going to try to kill him.
Yeah. Got it. So then it happens. Then did you guys have a conversation where
Oh,
you're
my,
like,
honey, did I not tell you they were going to try to kill him? How many times?
Yeah,
Nonstop.
And then let me ask you, after it happened, how quickly did she say, I'm voting for this guy?
I mean, we were working on it for a few, I'd say like a couple of years, but then I'd say right after that.
Right after that. So you see.
Because then I was like, okay, whatever's after this
I
guy
tell you,
is bad news.
Let me ask you, for you.
And they're trying to stop whatever the hell they're trying to stop is something that I don't want to
So let me
occur.
ask this question. In high school, what was your favorite subject in high school?
History and humanities.
Were you ever a math person?
Hate.
Okay,
Terrible
perfect.
at it.
So you just said you hate math,
Can't
right?
stand it.
So watch this. So you know, if you so you're probably not a chemistry person. You're probably not a physics person. You're probably not a geometry person. Math analysis.
Can't do it. Love to listen to the people who can do it.
But you don't have any
when they do,
interest in
oh
it.
my God, forget it. I need to listen to them, explain it to me.
You like math? What's your subject? What was your subject?
Mainly English, I would say.
And when did you become a Republican? Your entire life, or is it entire? So you grew up.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. So let me tell you how this goes. So did all those events make you want to go do your own research, or are you just following the stories and stories and stories?
No, I started doing my own research.
We did have a few moments, pivotal moments.
We were fighting always, but that had to do with hypocrisy on the left of not being tolerant. So, you know, because I've said this many times, I hate to be redundant, but I've said that I did think we were the good guys. In other words, I thought I'm a libertarian. Like, I want people, whatever you want to do with your life, do it. I don't care who you pray to. I don't care who you love. It's when your personal choices impact somebody else's life, then it's a complicated
Okay,
issue.
so let me ask you, when did you become a libertarian?
Always.
You've always been a
I mean,
libertarian.
Democrat, but Democrat meant libertarian to me at
Okay,
the time.
fine.
We were the ones that
So-
live and let live
yeah,
party.
so-
the no war party. I thought we were the good guys. And then my wife pointed out, yeah, you're tolerant right up until it goes against the things you believe. You attack Republicans.
How many
That's not
people you
tolerant.
think in America are like you the last 4 years? Actually think about it. How many people you think have transitioned the way you are like you in America the last 4 years?
You know what's interesting? I go to my kids. My son's in a million sports, but we'll take one of his baseball games. And I swear to God, it's like me and all the dads. And we're all like we're having an election party, Jill. You know, coming to that. No one can know. It's like, and all of them.
But okay.
All of them have
So
turned.
maybe let me ask this
They were
question
all
in
these
a
like
different way.
liberal.
Who's the craziest person that you say I would have never believed for him or her to turn in your life? No, outside of you.
Oh man.
Friends and family. People that you knew. Who was the person you're like, there's no way. There is no way this person's turning.
They haven't turned. It would be me.
It would be you.
It would be me.
So I will tell you, for me,
It would be me.
There are-
Tulsi, Bobby, and then me.
but I'm talking non-people that people know. I'm talking average day to day, like one of your kids, teachers, fathers, mother, you're around these types of people. There are a lot of stories like you right now. There are a lot of stories of people that are sitting there saying, what the hell is going on? Think about it this way. Joe Rogan is on Lex Friedman. He says, Trump's camp has tried to have him on. They've reached out to me so many times. I would never do it. I don't want to give him the platform. I don't even want to give him. He says, yeah. And then I'm on Joe. We're talking together. And I said, Joe, there's no way in the world you can't do this without having Trump on your podcast. You have to have him on your podcast, right? We're having a conversation. No, and it's crazy. The podcast that Joe and I did, it was episode 2016. The one where I told him he should have Trump on. I texted him. I said, Joe, let me tell you why you may want to consider having Trump on. Look at the episode you and I did and who won in that year. He looks at, oh, shit. 2016 was the episode he and I did. And that's the episode where I'm like, so did you just come here to have Trump on? I said, just don't go live with this podcast. Don't go live with this podcast, right? But what's the point? Rogan just had him on. It's got 40 plus million views. Yeah. Elon Musk was a liberal. He's now running for Trump and openly? What? Joe? Joe was in documentaries of trying to legalize marijuana.
Bernie.
Joe was for Bernie.
Bernie.
Yeah, he was like, Bernie's my guy.
I know.
To go from there to here. The first interview he does with Bobby, he says, I thought you were a kook. I don't know what word he used, some word like that. He says, after I read the book, I'm following your stuff. This stuff makes sense. And he said that's the challenge, where you're kind of like, I almost think the Republican Party today is libertarians, filled with libertarians and Republicans. And I think Democrats, you know how life is sometimes? Here's how life is sometimes. Sometimes you'll have an opinion about something. And then, let's say you're in a room with 5 other people. You guys all agree on the same thing, okay? And then all of a sudden, one person gradually gets a little bit extreme about a different position. And because that person is the leader of the community, everybody else naturally also agrees with that person and have their position with that. Year goes by. That person has a little bit of another wild position. You're like, oh, fucking weird. But you know what? Okay, since everybody agrees, let's go. Let's go. And then all of a sudden, 8 years later, you're like, hell, what the hell am I doing in this room? You guys are weird. How did I end up in this room? I think a lot of people in that party are in a room and they're looking around saying, I'm telling you, I don't belong in here. I just wanted no war. I wanted peace. I wanted legalize this and I wanted that. I'm not in this room. I got to get out. I think a lot of Americans are feeling like that right now. And right now, the attractive party today is the Republican. In 2008, you know how many people viewed themselves as a Democrat versus a Republican? 53% was Democrat, 30% was Republican.
Oh my God.
13%. You know what just happened last week? It's 45 Republican, 43 Democrats. People are becoming Republicans. They're like, I don't identify as a Democrat. I identify as a Republican.
I saw Joe say you want to be punk rock, be a Republican. I was like, well, you know,
How weird is that?
Pat, I mean, it's like I'm 13 again. I have all the T-shirts, like Dead Kennedys and Social Distortion. I mean, I was a punker as a kid, but I guess so. How weird is that? So I'm gonna leave it here with just 2 more questions. I asked you before we started recording. I was like, dude, I mean, you're a gazillionaire. You sold your company for a gazillion dollars. Why? You know, you had talked a little bit about, oh my God, I was exhausted. I was on the road. I had my next kid. I wasn't loving it. Like, why do this? Why not just go live on a freaking beach, man? And like ride jet skis and get in your yacht, take a helicopter wherever the fuck you want to go. Like, why are you crusading? What are you doing? Yeah. I would retire if I could retire.
Well, I mean, you have to realize I lived in Iran 11 years. My mother's family were communists. My dad's family were imperialist. And I was born October 1878. 3 months later, the Shah's in exile. They kicked him out. And in Iran, there's only 2 countries in the world who have ever said death upon America. Only 2. First one that did it was in 54, I want to say North Korea. The other one that did it is Iran. Only 2 countries have ever said death upon America. And the death upon America chant started in 79 after Khomeini. Iran's never been the same since, okay? So we leave, we go to Germany. I don't want to have anything to do with politics because I think politics destroyed my families. My parents got 2 divorces to each other. They married each other twice and they divorced each other twice. Crazy, right? So then I come out, I'm like, you know, this is just crazy stuff. After high school, I go to the Army, I come out, I'm like, you know, I'm going to go be a bodybuilder. I'm going to go into Hollywood. I'm going to marry a Kennedy, and maybe later on I'll run for governor. It's like I'm going to go to Arnold's playbook. That's what I'm going to do.
I've seen. I know this part of
Right.
it.
So, and then I'm like, you know what? I don't know. And then I go into financial services. I make money. And then one day I'm having dinner with Miramar Hotel. George Willis, the speaker. I have no clue who George Willis. He's a speaker. And he was the former advisor to Reagan. And he gives a speech. And afterwards I talk to him. He's like, listen, if you want to do something about America, find out why more immigrants come to America than anywhere else, like your family. Okay, great. So I leave. I start a company 6 months later called PHP. And our first event we put together in July of 2009. It's called Saving America Doing the Impossible. I'm dressed as George Washington. My wife is dressed as Lady Liberty. I got a 40-foot American Mount, what do you call it, Statue of Liberty. And I got all this stuff that's going on there. Mount Rushmore, there are 40 American flags. And I said, we're going to save America, do the impossible. 3 months later, I started our own insurance company, and we grew it. 60,000 insurance people we've licensed. We sold it 2 years ago. While I'm doing this, my pastor gives a speech one day, and he says, there's 7 mountains to climb in America. I'm like, 7 mountains to climb. All right, let's see what you're going to say. He says business, politics, education, military, family, and he gives a couple other things, and he says media. And he says the most influential one to climb and the hardest one to climb to the top is media. It's number one, but it's the hardest one to do. And I stayed here. This was 2009. And I'm just an insurance guy in 2000. I'm like, 4 years later, start a YouTube channel. I'm like, all right, let me see what's going to happen. And then we grow, and I make one video called Life of an Entrepreneur in 90 Seconds. 40 million views in a week. I'm like, what? This is before things would get 40 million views in a week.
Wow.
On Facebook. I'm like, what was this all about, right?
Yeah.
So then we're going through this, and next thing you know, all I'm talking about is business, but I'm interested in politics, and I can't stop from talking about politics. Eventually, I'm like, I'm going to start a podcast channel called PBD Podcast and Valuetainment. Valuetainment's now got, 6.2 million subs, and PBD Podcast has got 2.2 million subs. But our first podcast was 57 people watching us. It's just me and 57 people. Nobody was on my own family wasn't on it. We're just like, listen, guys, we want to talk about current events, and I don't know what's going to happen, but you're going to tell us if you're interested in our opinions about current events or not, and we'll see. A year later, I'm like, wow, this is interesting. Then I saw it. I said, okay. I sat the team down. I said, guys, here's what's going to happen. We're going to build the biggest media company in the world. We're going to go build a consulting firm. We're going to go build a technology company. We're going to build a holding company that's going to be above all of this, and we're going to compete in a marketplace because we have a story that other people don't have. And I said, listen, you're either going to think I'm crazy, but I have a vision. We're going to go and pursue this. So then we moved to Florida. I sold the business. We bought a few buildings. This was a life extension where you would get NAD and IVs here. We turned this into a cigar lounge and a comedy club. We bought another building that was a bank. We turned that into a consulting firm, and we just bought an 11-acre land, 2 hangars that we're going to build 300,000 square feet office space to house 2,000 employees that we're hosting an event next week. 2,000 people live will be there in a hangar. We're going to have 2 fighter jets, and we're doing a broadcasting, the whole nine. And by the way, here's what's interesting. We have no clue what we're doing, okay? I've never been in the media and the entertainment industry. I don't know what we're doing, but we're getting eyeballs. However, the reason for it is very simple.
Yeah, hundreds of millions. Yeah.
The reason for it
You
is...
become one of the most influential people in the media. So just, you don't know what you're doing?
And now I will
That's
take
encouraging, Pat.
what I'm saying, and I'm being sincere, meaning I
I don't know what I'm doing.
I didn't come up from media space. Like, it's not like I had 15 years at Disney, then I'm starting this. It's not like I had 12 years at ABC, then I'm doing this. I've never been a media exec. I'm an insurance. Life insurance is what I sell. You tell me, the moment you say life insurance, people hang up the phone. They don't want to talk to you. It's like, hey, Jen, I'd like to come and talk to your wife tonight about life insurance. Babe, we got plans for the next 5 years, Pat. We're busy, right? We're talking about life insurance. That's the life I grew up in. But here's the part that's exciting today. Every once in a while, you're going to see people being taken advantage of and bullies showing up. And some people, God put this thing in their belly that they itch to fight bullies. And I don't know why this is. Trust me, I wish it wasn't in my belly. I wish I didn't have it, because life would be a lot more peaceful and we would have lived a life. I can't stand golf. There's only a few things I love right now in life, and I'm obsessed with it. I am obsessed with it. I think this is the greatest country in the world. I think this is the last fighting chance the world has. I think people are relying on us to do our part. And we're going to fight. I don't think it's just going to be one or two people. I think the next 10 years, you're going to look and you're going to say, for sure, they're there, they're there, they're there, they're there. Boom. These are the people. We're not going away. And I think the fight's going to get bigger. I think the bullies are going to get more creative. I think the resources are going to be used in ways to make your life a living hell. But then sometimes you face a group of people that you just realize we can't beat these guys. And you have to go away for a decade or two and then reappear. And then hopefully we inspire the next generation of 18, 20-year-olds that are going to be 28, 38, and they're going to have the brass balls to go out there and do it and not sit around and just make the money and say, I'm just going to go be selfish and live for myself. No, you're not going to do that. You got to go do something about it. That's the part with this. Vision's clear. People are showing up. 70% of our employees are not from here. 70% of our employees are not from Florida. They're just moving here to want to come over here and be part of it. It's exciting stuff. They're not from here. Jake did the audio book on my last book that came out, Choose Your Enemies Wisely. Natalia's from Orlando, right? If I'm not, New York, Orlando. Kelly, where are you from? Jersey. We're not from here, right? We're coming here, and God willing, we'll turn Fort Lauderdale into the Burbank of East Coast.
You answered my last question. My last question was going to be, what happens if we lose? And the answer appears to be, don't stop fighting.
Oh, no way. No way. But let me tell you, Jillian, think about it. 4 years ago, whenever the first time you watched an episode of ours on the Itemino PBD podcast, say 2020, prior to that, how would you and I have gotten connected? Think about it.
Yeah.
What happened? How did we get connected? Common fight. How did Tulsi, Sage, Danica Patrick, how Sage, ESPN, Stephen A. Smith, Whitlock, Danica Patrick, Jimmy Johnson,
Russell Brand,
Tony Stewart, Russell Brand from the movie Forgetting Sarah Marshall, Inside of You, right? Like the greatest song of all time that he sings. Oh, not the shirt. What a great, by the way, we were in San Francisco. I'm seeing all these ads. The hell with you, Sarah Marshall. We're thinking there's a politician. It was one of the greatest campaigns ever for a movie. How the hell are these weird people showing up? We don't make sense to get along, to be on the same page for the same fight. How? How is a fighter who's got one of the sickest kicks in the world, Joe Rogan?
Yeah,
How is Musk, who's a freaking guy that wants to build? How are these people finding each other? It's very weird. Something's going on. It's a beautiful thing. Something's going on. It's a beautiful thing. And no matter what happened 6 days ago, you guys know we don't know yet.
Yeah,
you know the answer. We're trying to figure it out because you guys are seeing it on the 11th. We on the 1st don't know, but you on the 11th know. But whatever happens, I'm optimistic. Whatever does end up happening, whichever side it goes, the right people are finding each other. And in the history of mankind, the bad guys been able to push people around for a year, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, whatever the timeline is. There's always a group of people that rise up that have the courage that are more formidable and they can't beat them. And I'm very confident about this group of people that are finding each other.
Patrick Bet-David, thank you.
Of course, thank you. It's a pleasure meeting you. Are you kidding me? I'm meeting a famous person here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's you.
For those of you who don't know, this feels almost absurd. Where can we find you, Pat?
You can
I gotta do it. I gotta do it, brother.
YouTube, Twitter, you can find it everywhere. Or you can go to Manect. And you know who's on Manect? You can ask him any questions and they'll respond. Sage Steele's on Manect. She'll respond to you in audio. Tulsi Gabbard's on Manect. Candace Owens is on Manect. A bunch of people are on Manect. If you got questions on Manect, I'll respond back to you 100% of the time.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you.
Anytime.
Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the podcast, please like, comment, subscribe, and share. And make sure to let me know what guests you want to see on in the future.